Hi Flosstube, it's Lori McCleary here for the 11th day of Vlogmas. I recorded some clips earlier when I was finishing up baking, so I'm going to add those right here and then we'll get back to the regular video. My peanut butter and chocolate chip and various variations of cookies are all baked up. I store them in these Rubbermaid tubs. I believe this one is a size 8, and I don't know if they still make these. I've had these for a number of years, but they are the perfect containers for cookies, especially if you're baking over several days. It looks like they're called Serve and Savers. I'm sure they probably still have some variation of these. These will stay in here until I box them up for giving away. I did want to mention that if your cookies become hard for whatever reason, you can do the same thing as you do for your brown sugar. It's probably the brown sugar in them that's getting hard. But if you put a slice of bread in with your cookies and seal them up, by the next day, they will be soft again. So if that ever happens, you know what to do. My sugar cookie dough has been chilling overnight, so I'm getting ready to start rolling it out and cutting it out and baking. So while the oven is heating up, I've taken the dough out of the fridge to let it warm up just a little bit. I do like to keep it chilled, and if it gets too warm in the kitchen or the dough starts becoming really soft, I will put it back in the refrigerator in between bakings. I roll mine out with a little bit of a dusting of flour and in between 2 pieces of wax paper. Sometimes you have to change out your wax paper depending on how many cookies you use. And this is another prized possession, I have a green marble rolling pin. The reason I like this so much is it's very heavy and it helps with the rolling out, and of course things don't really stick to it. I used to have little rings that I could put on the outside. They came separate. They were not with the rolling pin, and I believe you can still buy them. So if you're looking for a particular thickness on your pie crust or your cookies or whatever you might be rolling out, if you put the ring on there, then it will help you roll out a very even crust. Mine have since wore out. I need to order a new set. I do roll my cookies out to be about 1/4 of an inch, and that gives them the ability to be soft on the inside and have the crisp around the edges. So I'm going to get ready to get these done. I've scooped out a little bit and kind of formed a ball and flattened it out, and you want it to be about the consistency of Play-Doh, or basically the pliability of Play-Doh. That's about what you want when you're rolling it out. It will be sticking together, yet will form and give you a really nice flaky, dense sugar cookie. Once I've rolled it out to the thickness I like, I take off the wax paper and I kind of check it. That's the thickness I like. And then I turn it over and I peel off the wax paper on this side as well. I don't work with a lot of dough at the same time. Like any other cookie, if you work too much with the dough, it's going to make a hard cookie. So small bits at a time, and then just go in and start your cutting. So when the kids were little, I would roll out the dough and I would let them cut it out, and then I would put it on the pan, and it doesn't look like I'm going to get my Santa in there. So I'm going to go ahead and finish rolling these out and get a pan in the oven. Just a teensy bit browner than I like around the edges, but otherwise perfect. I do have mishaps in the kitchen. This happened when the butter was not as soft as I expected, and my powdered sugar went everywhere. When you get ready to decorate your cookies, of course, there is a ton of decorations available on the market today, but when I was young, we didn't have that. And so one of the highlights of decorating the Christmas cookies was making colored sugar. And it was a project in itself. It's super easy to do. You just get some sugar. There's just regular table sugar, some cane sugar, and you start by putting a drop or two of regular food coloring that you find at the grocery store. Not a whole lot, just start out with a little bit, and you just keep stirring it around. It'll take a little bit, and soon you will have your colored sugar. Starting to come together here. Sorry about moving the camera around. I'm trying to see what I'm doing and record at the same time. So we would do this. We would make whatever colors we liked. I always liked making blue for the bells. That's what I'm doing here. I don't have any blue sugar. And if you're using the cane sugar, it is it's a little bit coarser of a granular, so it looks nicer on the cookies. So there we go, blue colored sugar. And if you let it sit for a little bit so it dries, then it's easier to sprinkle, and then we just use, a spoon or a fork. Sometimes it's a little easier to sprinkle onto your cookie. Here you go. Not the most beautiful cookie, not what you get with the beautiful frosting where you're piping it out and filling it in that, but I'll bet you these are much, much tastier with that homemade buttercream frosting. No added ingredients, just butter and sugar and vanilla and that beautiful yummy cookie underneath. These are the best. It was another busy day. I did some more baking. I baked up the rest of the cookie dough that we made yesterday. And then I made an executive elf decision that I'm going to forego doing fudge and almond roca this year. I was going to go into town, and then it kept getting later and it kept getting later. So I didn't get into town to get the soda crackers. And I wanted to talk a little bit about that almond roca recipe. So I guess I should call it a faux almond roca recipe. It has everything that almond roca has in it, but it has the crackers in it too. So think of it as a recipe very similar to what they did during World War II, where they would use Ritz crackers or crackers to make apple pie when they didn't have apples, and maybe they didn't have flour either. But I know that there's a lot of recipes floating out there on the mock apple pie. So this is a mock or a faux almond roca recipe. Basically, you make a toffee mix on the stove. So you cook your butter and your sugar together until it gets to a certain stage, and then you pour it over a layer of crackers, and then you bake that in the oven at 500 for exactly 5 minutes, or maybe it's 400 for 5 minutes. I don't remember. I will share the recipe maybe next year. And then you sprinkle almonds over it, take it out of the oven, sprinkle almonds over it, and then you sprinkle an entire bag of chocolate chips on top, and you just let them melt, and then you spread it out. And then once it's completely cool, in like an hour or so, you break it into little pieces. To me, it tastes better than regular almond roca. It doesn't stick in your teeth as bad, and it's really fun to make. It's really yummy. It's always been a big hit of the cookie platters that I've brought to like the office and other functions. Peanut butter fudge, I couldn't see that even the 2 functions that I'm going to, there's no way I could unload 3 pounds of peanut butter fudge, which is what it makes. And I really didn't want to have that in the house. So I'm going to save that for another day. And I'm going to go with the cookies that I made yesterday and give myself a break. I need to slow down my slow Christmas. And I will show you what I'm taking tomorrow. So I've packaged up a little assortment of the cookies. So there's the sugar cookies and the peanut butter cookies and the chocolate chip salted caramel cookies. So they're in here. I picked this up, I think, at the dollar spot at Target like a year or two ago. I could be wrong. I think that's where I got it. It was, you know, the $5 thing. And then my friend Linda was sending me pictures of things that she was finding while she's on her trip at the East Coast. And she showed several boxes and they were so cute, and it reminded me that I had that. And then it's like, oh, that would be a great cookie display. So that's what I'm taking tomorrow. I want to thank you guys so much for all of the wonderful recipes that you are posting. There's some fantastic recipes. There's a lot of great memories. If you haven't had the opportunity to scroll through the comments from yesterday's post, or yesterday's Vlogmas, December 10th, take the time and scroll through that. You will find some fantastic recipes. There's so many I want to try. I'm gonna have to start baking again, but I'm gonna have to start finding an audience for my baking because I don't want to eat all that sugar. But there's so many wonderful ones. So I really, really appreciate that. And I encourage each and every one of you to add a recipe if you can, or if you so desire, and kind of join in the fun. There is a particular, well, actually there's two recipes that I'm hoping that someone out there in Flosstube land will share with me if you have a good one. One is, I don't have a great gingerbread recipe. I have a good gingerbread recipe. Let me back up. Not a gingerbread cookie recipe. So I have good ones, but I don't have great ones. If you have a great gingerbread cookie recipe, please either message me privately if you would rather share it that way, or post it on your comment on yesterday's video. The second one is, I'm looking for a good family recipe for creme caca, for making the little pastry. Well, they're not pastries, they're kind of like a cookie. So years ago, I think I've shown this before, I found a vintage creme caca press. And this is what it looks like. It's very heavy. It's beautiful. This one is made by Yodel, which is Jotul, which is the same company that my wood stove is made from. I don't know, they're Norwegian. It has the base that you sit on the stove, and it has the ball that kind of sits in there. I've never made them. I've heard about them many times from many friends that say they're wonderful. So I think you make think of it as like, oh gosh, I would say that they're probably like a very thick cookie, and then you roll them around a wooden dowel, and then you fill them with many different things. You can fill them with sweet things and with savory things. So if you have a recipe for that, and you don't mind sharing, please let me know, put it in the comments, or shoot me an email. I'll put my email in the description box, or you can message me on Instagram, whatever works for you. I would love to have a recipe to try out to make creme caca. Okay, I think that's enough cookie talk. I'm about done with cookies. I still have a few to make. My cookie that I always make, that's my favorite, that I'm gonna make later in the season before Christmas, is shortbread. So I may share that when I get to the shortbread recipe process. And then the molasses cookies, which I'm gonna make with my son when he gets here later this week. I'm really excited he's gonna be here. Okay, I did get a new start yesterday. I know I talked about it. I've been working on a lot of other things and not as much stitching as I'd like. I have been stitching on some focus pieces, but I really wanted to start some of the new starts that I had planned. And so I did start Merry Old Christmas, and this is a stitch by Notforgotton Farm. And I'm stitching this on a 30 count. I think it's a weeks gray. It's a weeks of some sort. And I'm using the called for DMC, except for I'm using 918 versus 919 because I didn't have that in my stash and I didn't want to wait. So here is my little tiny start, and I'm loving it. Oops. I'm loving it so far. I'm going to work on it tonight right after I get the video uploaded, and we'll see how far I can get. I think this is going to be a fairly quick stitch, maybe a couple of more evenings depending on how my evenings go. So tomorrow I have my stitchy get together with my Tuesday stitch group, and I'm going to go into town. I have a lot of errands, a lot of last minute things that I need to pick up for various gifts and that sort of thing, and groceries. I need to go grocery shopping. So I'm going to go into town and get that done and go to my function, take my cookies and hang out with my peeps and have a good time. And then I have another one with my quilting group tomorrow. So I'm looking forward, or not tomorrow, the day after tomorrow. I'm looking forward to that as well. There were a couple questions asked. One was about storage. I do want to talk about that. So hold please. Okie dokie. So I had a couple questions about how do I store my cookies, and I do address it on the video clip before, but I want to make sure I cover everything. I don't know if this is the best way to store cookies. Generally, I don't have to store them more than 3 or 4 days before I'm taking them wherever I'm taking them, or I'm bagging them up and giving them as gifts. I try to time my baking days around when I'm going to be handing out the cookies. What I use right now, these are from Rubbermaid. These are size, let's see, they are 33 cups size. They're called a Serve and Saver. I have 4 of these, and they do hold quite a bit of cookies. So I used to fill these up completely. Plus I have a round one that's near the same size. It's just a different shape. And those are what I use to store. The other thing that I wanted to talk about storing your cookies is don't store cookies that have different flavors in the same container. Otherwise, you'll end up with really funny tasting cookies. And I've done that, didn't even think about it. I had some peppermint flavored cookies that I stored in with my chocolate chip, which that wasn't a bad combination, but it didn't really go great with the peanut butter. And if I make the lemon cookies, they don't really go great with the other flavors. So if you have a strong flavored cookie or a highly spiced cookie, don't store them with another different kind of flavored cookie. Store those separately. Maybe put it in a Ziploc and then you can put it in the tub, or just keep them separate. Otherwise your cookies, just even overnight, will taste kind of funny. So that was my tip for today. And back to my farewells. I will see you again tomorrow, and I'm looking forward to it, and happy holidays, and see you soon. Bye-bye.